Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Uno, dos, tres centitos. Cuatro, cinco, seis centitos. Siete, ocho, nueve centitos. 10 centitos, niños. Did you ever sing that at school?
No, I learned the other one about the elephants.
Was it Spanish? Was it
Yeah,
Spanish?
yeah, it was elephants swinging in a cobweb. It was really weird.
That sounds like English. Hang on, we'll be right back. Hang on, we'll be right back. We're live on all the platforms. Let's let everybody come in. Oops, wait. So right when that finished, excuse me, right when that finished, there was 44 people in all the platforms. So I saw these names. Good morning, everybody. I saw these names. Stephanie Lynn. These are people that have been supporting us, loving us, and making contributions energetically, monetarily, resourcefully, and otherwise. But I just want to say thank you to them. Stephanie Lynn would be one. Michael Abramson says, Buenos dias, amigos. Unfortunately, I'm the only one here that can speak Spanish fluently. Uno, dos, tres centitos, cuatro, cinco, seis centitos. Melissa Dehans, Love Bombing. Bella Improviso. She's very cool. She sent us a beautiful package. Denise Chadwick, there's your dragon mask that you sent me back there. Gayatri Singh, we have a box of your cards. We just got home. We haven't opened them. So we're looking forward to that. I'll bring them out on the screen at some point. Bonnie Prisolowski from Saskatchewan. Linda Jarrett, Robert Scribner, Kay Tippin, on and on and on and on and on. There's more and more and more and more, including Shanine Moodland from the Freedom Network, who sent me a message, 2 messages. I still haven't opened them in the last 24 hours, but I'll get to them after this show. So what's happening? A long time no see. How long were we separated, man? I was having separation anxiety.
Well, you and Michael linked up in Sedona, so that must have been awesome. I don't know. It feels like a really long time.
Yes. Shanine's like, I deleted your messages. She said, I deleted your messages, asshole. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we met up in Israel was there. Israel, the second unicorn. Morgan is the first unicorn. You know, the rarely seen Loch Ness monsters. They're like the rarely seen Sasquatch. Yeah, Israel's really cool. Very cool dude. Yeah. We had powerful moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. We really did, together and with other people. And then we did a session with Michael. And I had a proxy for him because he was blocked. That was trippy. I saw Michael's higher self.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yes.
And you know what? You told me to look up your higher self, told my higher self to look up Pegasus.
That was actually your higher self telling you to look up Pegasus.
Yes, and what was trippy is the day after that, like Gilda, I don't really scroll a lot on Facebook. So like sometimes when I'll think of a person, I'll go to their page to see like what I've missed. And so I thought about a friend who I hadn't been on their page in probably like a year. And so I went on their page to see how they were doing. And they had just changed their background picture to Pegasus the day after.
You can't make this shift up.
Yeah.
You can't.
And so I looked it up, and it's about the spiritual symbolism is becoming liberated from all aspects. So like shifting consciousness, basically, like liberation from all forms of subjugation. So I was just like, wow, yeah, that was pretty intense. And yeah, I didn't even know you. Yeah, brother, that was awesome. He was in the zone. Yeah, when he was able to.
Well, I'll explain. No, I was just a proxy. Morgan was Morgan's a practitioner. So what happens is, Morgan's been doing this for years and years and years. So when she does a session with somebody, now this is not a 0 point session. It's a what would you call it? Like a wellness check, or like if something's there to clear and you don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's a session. It's an energy session, and normally she works one-on-one with the client, right? So Michael had something going on. I forget what it was. There was something going on.
My head. We were talking about the brain.
Yeah, he was talking about his brain injury. And, of course, we know there's an energetic root to everything. So they were having this conversation. I really wasn't clued in. I don't think I was. I think I was talking to Israel. And then, so they start working together, and Michael was having a problem pulling up his higher self and getting a clear flow. And that happens to people. Morgan explains that it happens sometimes the first or second time, and then you can get past it. You're okay, which is what happened with me. And so then what happens is occasionally somebody will have a block, getting to their higher self, or they'll have a block because of a very traumatic event that they don't want to look at. They don't want to have any feelings, or they don't want to relive it in any way. Not that they have to, but there's something there that they're just keeping them, and that can be a lot of times from sexual molestation. Where they don't want to revisit it. So there's been a few times that she'll have me be a proxy. When a proxy so I'll pull up my higher self, and then with Mike, like I say in this case, in Michael's permission, pull up his higher self. So it's really my higher self and his higher self, and of course Morgan's facilitating at that level, and then what happens is, it kind of runs through me. I'm just talking to his higher self, and his higher self is telling me, whatever, right? So his higher self appeared, right? And so it was like, and I've seen a lot of different people's when I've done these sessions as a proxy for Morgan. But so Michael came in, and he was like his hair was like it is, with that big giant mohawk, and he was really big and brown and muscular, and then he had these huge. I've never seen him before. I've never seen not in like doing that or in dimension. I've seen a lot of wings, but I've never seen. These were like really full feathers. They were soft feathers like a bird, and they were really full, like really just really dense, and they were white. And then I looked at him, and then he started like flashing, and the wings would stay the same, and it would be Pegasus Michael, Pegasus Michael, Pegasus Michael. And so it was a successful session. And Pegasus said, or his higher self said, go look up Pegasus, look at some kind of meaning for it, and then drink lots of water in the next 24 hours. So we go out to the desert the next day because Israel and Michael wanted to shoot some footage of me saying different things, which I'd never done before. That was trippy. And Michael had to stay in the car because we just drove out to the stupa in Sedona, and Michael had to stay in the car, and he couldn't get out. He's like, dude, I can't get out, you know? And so by the time we came back, me and Israel filmed for like 30 minutes. Michael's like out of the car. Let's make some more. Let's do some more. Where are you guys going? I was like, what happened to you? He's like, well, I drank some water. He goes, I just remembered my higher self told me to drink a bunch of water and I hadn't drank any. Like, yeah, so it's always a good idea to follow the higher self's advice.
Yeah. So, Michael, I had a question. So how did it feel after all that and having connection and dealing with Sedona energy, coming back home? Yeah. What was the shift? What's coming up? And
yeah, well, so, Morgan is, she's really powerful. And obviously, like, Todd and Morgan together, there's a synergy that's created. And there was just a lot of beautiful, powerful exchange. And so that experience in itself, like, I had a brain injury in 2013. I actually had 2 6 months apart. And so that's why even on camera, like, you'll see me always adjusting my head because I have a lot of like chronic pain. And so that's what Morgan wanted to go in and talk about. And so when her and Todd were doing that, I literally felt all this popping and cracking from like my medial spine all the way up through my skull while we were doing the session. And so since then, I mean, there's just been, Sedona's like, I felt like you're just walking around and it's like a battery, you know, like I just felt like I was everywhere I went was charged and like the energy was just beautiful, but it's really powerful. And so I think since I've been back, I've been sleeping and eating a lot and just integrating. And then just like with, I think what everyone's going through, the 1010's been like huge for me, like this portal, like leading up to it. So like a lot of, that's like kind of, it's reflected in my writing or in the writing, a lot of clearing, like just seeing a lot of different people from my past in my dreams and seeing like reconciliation, like, you know, if like there's any energy stuck, those timelines have been shifting in dream state. So I think I've written about that like twice in the last couple of weeks. And so I feel good. I feel strong, and I feel excited that we all got to connect, and it was a beautiful time. And especially like I got to like Kamara and Beth, and there was just so many people we got to connect with. And then I got to recite some poetry with Brother Todd here and Jade, Ty. There was a lot, and Israel had a blast. I feel like him and Morgan and Todd and myself, I feel like there's a lot of parallels. Yeah, so it was really cool. I love it.
Yeah, and they have Vibrational Empowerment Network has sent me, I guess it's a link to a Google Drive that has all the footage, every bit of the footage. So I'm going to get it to our group so we can play with it. But yeah, I forgot about, what did you just mention about? Oh yeah, when we did the little, whatever it was, the poetry thing,
right?
Jade was doing the gong, right?
And then Ty was piano, and
that's right, Ty was there. Yeah, they're amazing together. And then so everything that we streamed, which was a lot, like 60 hours plus, from their studio, only went to Soulogy One Studio's Facebook page. So we weren't doing our typical multi-streaming. So I want to get all that stuff off and stick it up on the other platforms. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, Michael was like, it's like trying to do poetry next to God, man. I can't like keep up with him. I'm like, I did like a couple of pieces. He was impressed, but Michael's got that voice like.
I always tell him.
Hey, let me imitate Michael. He's like, when the stars bleed and blood drops on your skin and the wrinkles on your face become the lines of your existence.
Hey, you sound perfect.
The crow comes and poops on your head, and then God laughs.
That was perfect.
And Israel God, we got to get Israel on here. People got to know Israel. I know he's going to be shitting in his pants, but Israel and Michael. And this is really cool, and I think we can talk about this. But Israel, Israel and Michael have this energy. Morgan's like, she's like, oh my God, can you talk to me like that?
And she asked if my dad's on the stairs. Dad, are you on the stairs? No.
So what happened is, okay, so before we left, we do our thing every night. This was like over 2 or 3 nights. And then we were in New Mexico the night before, and it happened again. So they were basically telling us that we would meet other couples with the same frequency, specifically 3, 2 right away, 1 later, with the same frequency we had. And it wasn't about us. It was just about what was happening on the earth, and in this case in Sedona, and that we would also meet androgynous beings that had the same frequency as these couples. So the whole idea is that this frequency, which who knows what the name of it is, let's call it sacred union or the purest love or whatever that is, was having a bunch of connection points in Sedona, and then other stuff from there. So that actually happened in a lot of different ways, because we had meetups and we had get-togethers and we had the studio time, and we had a lot of different instances of that occurring, and that was very powerful. And so one of the things that came out of it was the reality, Trinity activations, Morgan's saying, Trinity activations. But the reality that kind of came to the surface was that it doesn't have to be a traditional romantic man and a woman or same-sex relationship that's romantic to carry that frequency. It can be an individual, and we met men and women that were carrying that frequency. And it can be a brothers like Israel and Michael. It could be a father and a daughter, or a son and a mother. I mean, there's all different combinations of it. But the important thing is that frequency was very obvious and apparent over there, which was pretty cool and activating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think that it's like Morgan and you both just put into language what our experience has always been, because it's like Israel and I, there is this symbiotic connection. Mm-hmm. I know what he's thinking. I know what we're feeling. I know we don't even have to look at each other, and we can answer each other's questions. You know what I mean? Like, as far as if there's been times just being on the same exact page and knowing, do we want to do this project? Do we not want to do this project? How do you feel about this? And a lot of people, I think there was probably 3 or 4 different times while we were in Sedona where someone said something to that extent. There's a connection here, and it's one that's beyond words. So people kept saying that even if they didn't know us. So yeah.
And Israel's super cool, man. he's like
well, he's your twin.
Yeah, that's right. It's a twin energy, and who knows, maybe there's triplets, maybe there's quadruplets, maybe that these people and these couples are the first out of the gate to then take it to other people. Why wouldn't that be the feeling and the type of connection you have with each and every person in, let's say, 5D or heaven? It would only make sense. Everybody's walking around in ecstasy without having to pop a pill, right? Everybody's got pure empathy, But and so Israel is it's weird because the 4 of us were together, and I look at Israel, me and Israel are way alike. Okay. It's fucking freaky. But then Michael and Morgan are way alike. Okay. But then there's a crossover. There's you're standing in the 4 corners, you're way alike the one, but then there's a dotted line to the other one. So there's things in Michael that are like me, and there's things in Israel that are like Morgan. But for the most part, that's kind of how it worked. And that was powerful. We spent, 2 nights together? Plus the other time with other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Sounds like you guys had so much powerful connection and activation.
Yeah.
And it was.
Are you still in space, Todd? You still lending that energy from Sedona?
I don't even know. It's like just one big. Like when you get like the smooth butter and you slide it on a piece of bread, it's just like all runs together. So yeah, because I'm dealing with. I mean, I was making jokes about it over there. That I would go into the studio, and I would do 4 or 5 hours of broadcast back to back to back programs back to that. So every time you do a program like that, it's like being in a session. Right? It's like what Michael was describing with Morgan's session, right? So it's like you go through that, then 5 minutes later, somebody else. And I've learned to do that okay. But then and also dealing with Sedona, right? Because that's no little thing, right? I would drive from this little suburb to Sedona by myself, and the grandfather rocks would just be yelling at me. Hey! So then I'd get there, and then I'd like sit down, and the first guest would come in, and then I'd do all the work, and then on the way back, the same thing would happen. And so I probably ran into couples, and then Morgan and I might have dinner with another couple or an androgen, and then you have all this stuff going on, and then I lay down with Morgan, the high priestess, put our hands together. We think we're going to go to bed. The next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, and I've been totally activated. My masculine has been leveled up again. And I wake up 3 or 4 hours later, and I have no fluid in my body. I'm totally dehydrated, and I'm totally discombobulated. That's how it went for like 3 or 4 days. It was to answer your question, no. I'm not decompressed. I'm not even close, and I won't be till Saturday or Sunday. And because I'm going to broadcast through Friday. What about you, Michael? You went totally quiet, man. What happened?
No, it's just, no, you're right. Like I was thinking about, that was my process with Sedona too, because just the space, the land itself is so sacred.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like right when you're driving in, you can feel the frequency just accelerating. And so like automatically, like I start seeing colors and stars and everything, just like you feel the energy. So there's like a real big physical response, but then you start exchanging energy with a lot of different people. And then like, you come together and have those experiences like with, when we recited with Jade and Ty, that was like really intense because Todd carries a powerful energy and his poetry does. And then, I mean, they're conduits as well. Like they're not really like playing instruments. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know about you, but like when he was on the gong, like I started getting like nauseous because it's like, you start getting activated.
Dude, did you see what happened to Morgan?
No.
After y'all left?
Oh my God. I caught that live, and it was beautiful. As soon as he started playing, he panned over to the side where Morgan was, and I can see her just crying. There's like you can feel the massive activation. Everybody was just in awe of just the sound of it.
And all he did was he you know what I'll send you the link. So there were supposed to be like 8 or 10 people go to this couple's house, these 2 cool chicks, and we ended up doing a show at their place. One's a guitarist, professional guitarist, and the other one's a professional painter, and they're both like at the top of their game. So anyway, they're partnered up. They live in this house, very nice place. You're on this balcony looking over West Sedona. Ended up being about 30 people, 35 people showed up. So part of what we did at the end was they were going to do like a musical thing, right? And just freestyle. And so when it started, all he did was he has this one gong that is an Atlantean gong. All the other ones kind of look the same, but this Atlantean one is like trippy, man. So he went, He went, just like, went around it. And then I panned to Morgan, and Morgan started crying. And I watched her, and she just kept crying. But it wasn't like sobbing, but tears just kept. And this look on her face, and I know that look on her face. Anyway, she told me later that, there's her comment. She said that later she was telling me that everything she looked at, all she could see was pure love. And not like just in a feeling, but there was other, aspects showing that to her, colors or whatever. And everything from the people to the instruments to the chairs to the tables. And it was all because of that one sound from that incredible gong, which she says is like Michael's voice.
That was that. Yeah, I didn't even see that, but that was my experience. So it was like I literally went into I had told Jade, I was like praying, like, please don't let me throw up right now on camera. Well, he was playing while I was reciting, because all I could feel was the energy, and like my body felt like.
Oh, you mean when we were in the studio?
Yeah, but I'm just talking about just how powerful they are, as receptors when they start facilitating the instruments are facilitating them. But yeah. And something else that really actually has shifted big time for me since I got back was when we were in Sedona. I was talking to Morgan, and I was talking about like the learning and the student teacher role. And she said how in the new paradigm, everything is a sharing of codes, right? So there's like the hierarchies kind of like obsolete or dissolved. And she said, now we're all sharing codes. Yeah. So, and that really shifted something, because I sat with that for the last few weeks. And then like I started analyzing my experiences, and it's like all of us are shifting, and everything that's blossoming inside of all of us is an exchange of codes, and we're constantly all activating each other. So it's like through poetry, through these conversations, through words, through music, through song. And so I've kind of been like witnessing that since she brought that into like my awareness. And I have seen that, right? Like, and I feel like that just finding the message in every exchange, like, and I think that's like with the collective world I see right now. Just like unconsciously, because this is how we were created to function in the old paradigm, is we have such an aversion to triggers, right? And I've seen a couple people write about triggers. I've written about triggers lately. Yet, like, literally, triggers are the keys to unlocking the full potential of the spirit and move across this threshold of duality and back into the timeless state of pure consciousness. And so I just feel like I've been really mindful of, just everything's a code. So even triggers are codes, right? Like if someone's triggering, they're unlocking a piece of my power that's been covered over.
Yeah.
And so if we could just like kind of move into that greater understanding of how everything is literally conspiring to serve, to where in the old paradigm, we felt like victim consciousness, we felt like everything was there to make our lives miserable, and so kind of, just viewing everything as codes.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, I sometimes feel energetically people. I don't look for it, I just feel it. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. And I even mentioned to Todd, he's like, have you talked to Michael? And I was like, no, I haven't talked to Michael. He's like, he's already left. Then it's just what I felt from you is that you've gone into a cocoon when you were like doing a lot of creative space. And I was like, oh, that's powerful. I don't know what he's cooking up because I've been seeing your writing and it's just been amazing, blowing away. And I know I've mentioned it to you more than once. It's just like something that's not just when you write, and I can sometimes even hear it in your voice now. When you're writing, it is the powerful, just how everything comes through and you're being able to put it through in a way that everybody can understand. It's
Yeah.
very, very beautiful.
Yeah, this except I'm going to become Michael's double. Like, thank you. The raven landed on my shoulder.
We're gonna. We'll do. We need to do a video together.
Yeah, we'll do that. Hey, look at this comment, Candace. Another poet. Accept the gifts you're given. Is this a big one right now? I mean, there seems to be like multiple things going on revolving around one thing. Don't ask me what it is, but multiple things going around like around a vortex. And the vortex is something's up. Something's come up. It has to do, this is part of it to me. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. So like accepting gifts. Like, there was this quote that came out about 2 weeks ago, and I was trying to tell Morgan what it is, and then she put it on her wall. This guy had like 400,000 shares or some crazy thing off this little meme that basically was saying, you know, if you're like ultra independent and you won't accept anything, you've got to do it on your own, that's a problem. That's like a trauma problem, right? Like, so one of them to me is like, can you accept a gift? Do you love yourself enough to accept the gift? Another one is being very direct with people, not being an asshole, but like this is part of the peripheral or the byproduct of this vortex. And I don't know what the center is. Maybe we'll figure it out together. But so it's like, be direct, you know, say what you have to say. When the moment arises, not like the old paradigm where you like wait and it's suppressed and you get resentful and you get a stomach ache or whatever. And then, so be direct, allowing, you know, can you accept a gift? Be direct as the situations arise, when they arise, don't wait. Choosing not to play in the muddy, denser waters anymore. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I think is that it's kind of seems to be, Morgan and I were talking about this last night. We do it every day. I mean, what am I talking about? But the other thing would be once, like when you come into a situation, you're direct, you know, and the other things, and then you walk away. In other words, whatever as it's been presented to you, you do your thing, and then you honor the path that person chooses, regardless of what their choice is.
Yes.
But what is the root of it? Like, there's something at the root of it that seems to be in the field in the last few weeks, and I don't know what it is.
I think that Michael did bring up a good point overall, that there's a lot of stuff that's coming up and it's being more into the awareness. And more than ever now, it's more to the awareness of you can see it and we have that space to choose where we want to go and how we want to deal with it. How I felt it, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, but overall, how I was going through higher self and spirit was basically, it's like if you're kind of in a boat and you kind of are in the middle of a storm, you kind of go overboard. It's you fall in, you're trying to survive. What are the key things? Or if you're like caught in one of those surfs, says, do you know what to do when you need to get away? You don't just swim and then hit you again and take you under. You learn to go parallel towards the shoreline to save your life. It's basically saying this are the basic things with the energy, and it's your choice if you want to continue fighting with the tide or the waves of what that storm is or whatever you want to call it, or you want to go along and choose a higher part for yourself, regardless of what that lesson is or anything else. It's just the trigger, the awareness, and then you're like, okay, now let's deal with this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how basically how spirit was overall, like the timing and everything else that even I find myself in. It's just like, okay, What are the things that I can do? Shifted. And also knowing too that no matter what, the divine universe is always going to be providing the opportunities to clear something and to give you a chance to, if you want to shift to a higher vibration, the options are there, or if you want to stay stagnant and be there.
Yeah, and like I think one of the things too, I think it's one of the peripheral things, right, on the fringe, the byproducts is, can you elevate by saving people? You get it? What do you think, Michael? Well,
I think
the crow.
I thought you really wanted to know.
No, I'm serious. I was playing. Go ahead. No, seriously. Like we can't save anybody. Like this is really big. You know. I mean, like we're used to being there for our loved ones, and in fact, we come from a place where if you don't fill that role, you're a POS. You're just. You're lesser than, you're considered, you know what I mean? But this is the truth. And it happens like it all day long, every day, in conversations and messages that come to you. It's like there's this old programming that's subtle and unconscious for the most part, for most of everybody. And they throw out a fishing line, and then we all do it, throw out a fishing line expecting to hook a response, and wounded healer. I mean, there's no room anymore. And this is what, to me, it looks like at the human level. Like, I've got to say no. It may seem like I'm an asshole. I'm going to be direct and let the chips fall. I've seen a lot of posts in the last couple of weeks talking about, in fact, somebody did a good one. I was telling Morgan about it last night. B. Buckmaster out of UK. She said it was a long one, and she thanked a bunch of people, and she said, and to my family and friends that I'm having to walk away from. Wow. Like she said, see you later, I love you from my heart, but see you. So that's a big one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that what we realize is as we come into communion with the Spirit, we just start to see the laws more clearly. And so what you're talking about is like that old state where we used to try to save people, that was coming from the unconscious state of separation and lack within ourselves, trying to fulfill, right, for that lack of feeling that's derived from the essence of Spirit. We were trying to feel outside of ourselves, feel important, feel special, feel like we had meaning or purpose, because the Spirit grounded in itself is the purpose. It is the meaning. It is the purpose of living in life and breathing. But when we lose that, we go outside of ourselves. When you understand that people are seeing the world at their level of perception and they're governed by the specific law of that frequency, then you're no longer trying to save, you're just releasing code.
Yeah.
And it's an offering. It becomes an offering and a gift, not you need to do this, you need to think like this, you need to see like this. Because some people come into this incarnation and they're not meant to shift into pure consciousness. Some people incarnated onto the planet to become a collective mirror to create massive triggers for large amounts of the collective to shift into a higher state of consciousness, to bring in a new paradigm. So if we're trying to make, like, when you perceive something as evil or bad or start labeling it, you're experiencing an inner contraction of your own spirit. Your spirit starts to shrink because you're labeling something that's actually playing out its perfect divine role in order for the collective to shift and merge. And so it's like, for us, it's once you start seeing those laws, they become visible, then you want to just share, and you know that it's going to activate a multitude of perceptions in different ways dictated upon where they're vibrating. And so it just becomes more of a gift of love, or, an offering.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also along the lines that even as Morgan has said and Todd has said many times, even if you know it, even if you know how to get to that point, is why you're going to tell them too, and rob them from that lesson.
That's not me. That's Morgan. I'm not that.
Yeah. You've said it so many times.
Well,
you said it so many times through Morgan. Yeah. So it's the same thing. So I think that even though that as people know where we're at, and we're able to be like, okay, that's where they're at, and it's okay. Let's honor that. It's not my place at all to say anything. And if they want to project, they're going to project, and that's quite all right. We're going to continue, and we're going to continue doing what we need to do. And if it no longer aligns, then it no longer aligns. And that's quite all right, because we know that universal alignment in law is whatever you're vibrating, it's going to come to you. So even if those things shed away, you're fully knowing that you're fully supported. That's the only way to go. Having that faith and that trust in the universe, and not questioning, like, what do I do here now? Yeah, it's human part to think of all that, but to fully go and fully know and trusting, it's just really going to have that greater expansion. You're not putting limits on yourself.
Mm-mm. No. Well, Michael started the whole show talking about code, and that's really what it is. Like being married to Morgan, it's like being on the front end of the ascension. Like she's like, I've said it, she's like a cosmic weather vane. So everything comes in early. And, like all of us, I guess, when that happens, you don't always know what it is that's coming in. So now I'm cohabitating and coexisting with her, and very much like Michael was talking about with Israel. Like, I can't put into words what I know, but I know what she's feeling. Not like I couldn't explain it, but I can feel the energy. So like, for instance, she pulled down massive stuff around the 8th, 9th, 10th when we got back. It's like, boom, everything just changed. Like we had this cross-country trip. She's driving on the right-hand side of the road, which is the wrong side of the road for her. We're talking like 20 hours. Big trucks going down the road, and she did a great job. It was a very powerful experience to share. But so when we got home, everything shifted, and I knew something was going on. I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't say, like I might have said 6 months ago or 12 months ago, what's going on? What's the matter with you? Why are you, whatever, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And instead, just slowly over time, and I know I'm not the only one. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of it is a new masculine energy, which can be in a man and a woman, right? It doesn't matter, but I'm just saying it's a quality of emulating what the feminine energy has always done, even in our physicality, even with the suppression of the feminine goddess energy, she's always held space, right? She's always just allowed and just let things play out and trust. You know what I mean? And that comes from a spiritual confidence. So I'm saying this as an example of what Delia just said. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to take it on. You open up, you're there, and you just let it, everything occur. And, I think that's what Delia's saying. Like, you may, here's the thing. You may know, and you may think you know. Those are two different things. Yes. So, and I learned this for myself, which again, I have a great advantage living with who I live with, because I get to really be in this cosmic laboratory of this transformation that we're all in. But like, whether I know or think I know it, I really don't know. Right. And even if I absolutely know I know, or I absolutely have no clue, and everything in between, the best thing I can do is shut the fuck up. It is.
It really is.
Don't say a word. That's one thing I think too that I never really understood. I was in sales, I was in construction, and at a corporate level, private level, small level, big level. So I was always involved in selling. And in selling, they tell you the number one thing is to listen, to ask questions and listen. But I never understood what listening was until I met Morgan Lee. Now, this is really about two energies, about a masculine, physical masculine's journey, physical feminine's journey. So I never really understood. But a lot of times what I'm starting to get is, and of course, again, I got a great teacher, is that that's all that needs to happen is for that person to say what they need to say or not, right? Or not. You just, like Delia, that post you put up in our work group, you just said, here you go. I'm just letting you know. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just letting you know this is where I'm at. And because I respect and love you and you're my family, I just need you to be aware. I thought it would be a respectful, honorable, lovable thing to do, So, yeah.
Yeah. You said, when I was younger, I would be triggered or like have an energy moving through me, but I wasn't consciously aware of what I was experiencing. So of course I'd look to the external world, like, why am I feeling this way? Clearly something outside of me is making me upset. If I fix what's outside of me, I'll feel better. And this is where like you talk about just the power of stillness, because so usually, it's whoever's close to you is going to get, they're going to get the brunt of that energy or that feeling. So it used to always be Israel. And so I'd be like, all fired up when I was younger, and I'd be saying something and, it's Israel's fault. Like, if you didn't do this, I'd feel better. And I'd like have all these, right? And then, eventually that would progress into me breaking down and crying. Oh, and I'm like bawling. And then he's like, it's all right. That's all you needed. You just really needed to cry. Like, it wasn't really about, that I left this in the car, And so like, it was like, really like what you said is like, once we start reading those or reaching those states of understanding or awareness, we start to just honor, right? So there's times where like, I'll just feel the depth of the void or feel something being extracted. And so like, now that's like how it used to look. Now it looks like I'll just start crying. And then Israel will look at me and I'll just be like, oh, there's just a movement taking place. Like, I just need to honor it. I just need to feel it. And then even though it's very challenging still, right? We know that there's no resistance when we start to just feel it fully. And that's when it literally, like, it transmutes at an accelerated pace. And we get to just feel it out of our body, out of our psyche, out of our heart. And you're right. And it's that silence. So now it's just like, and the presence, the power of presence when someone else holds space, especially when they're vibrating, from a deeper state of love, their energy can also just help us move through that, just their presence alone.
Yeah. And you don't always know. So here's another quick example, right? With what happened like the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Like when we got back, it was like, it was a perfect setup. It always is, right? And so whatever it was came in and hit her. And with her, it's always, it can be personal, but it's always collective. Like she's part of a team, in my opinion, that's anchoring in the early stuff, right? So we can all then have a smoother ride. So this had to do more like final closing out, heavy patriarchal imposition to the energetic field, feminines and masculines, resentment, anger, rage, a lot of different stuff flowing through. But it was just like Israel said to you, it was just like working its way through. But to the human level, she went quiet. She went in her room. Now, I didn't know anything because we've gotten to the point, which I think is an indicator of where we're all going to go, that we don't have to talk a lot, right? If the shit hits the fan in one or the other, then you don't have to know all the details. I don't have to be up your ass the whole time. You know what I mean? This isn't the old relationship. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? So anyway, what happened was, unbeknownst to me, and again, I'm just reacting to the feelings that I'm receiving or attuned to, not knowing literally what it is. I couldn't explain it, but knowing like a magnet. Okay, that doesn't attract. Move this way. That repels. Just, you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is after it all happened, we actually had, what ended up happening was it culminated that night when we would put our hands together. Again, we didn't talk. And I had this huge elevation thing where I had to get out of the bed. I talked about it on a couple of shows. She's going through her thing. We didn't talk. The next day, we took a drive, and I told her what I experienced, and she said, well, this is why. And then it all clicked together. But at a human level, this is what I'm getting at. She was going through intense physical pain because the body was integrating it, not just the human field. She was dealing with all of this stuff that was popping up, that was creating, that was again coming up to be released, but very painful and like, why did this happen? And, we're in the old, say a few months ago, she might have gone into a loop. Anybody would have, and said, well, men are like this or whatever the case is. So she was going through all this stuff and having the conscious awareness to say, I need to stay away from Todd. I don't need to go near him. I don't want to project on him. While you're having all these intense sensations. So here, and what I'm trying to say is here I am next to her. You know what I mean? And it served me to keep my mouth shut. Because if I'd have gone in there and started digging and poking and prodding, I would have gotten, the dragon claw. It would have been a bap, but so I think, and the reason I'm saying this is because I think this is where we're getting to, where we don't have to talk. We don't have to know every detail. Israel carries that energy to me.
Yes. Yeah.
And when they do talk, like Morgan or like Israel, it's like, 4 words, and it's like a 12-cent volume of encyclopedias. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's true. We watched Israel do it with. We gathered with the 4 of us and 2 other people, and Israel held court. Man, I was about to go put a crown on his head. He was like the king, right?
Well, and that's what him and I actually were talking about this, like in our process and how it's deepening. Is because when we were younger, and I have I've always and I think this is probably I don't know if it's just part of the old way we held energy, but it was when you see someone upset or sad, and you were talking about this earlier, Todd, you felt obligated to make them feel good right now. Come on, let's go have fun. Let's go get your favorite food. And to where I was telling Israel, I had a recent epiphany with him where it was when we were younger, his energy would just drop and he'd look upset or angry. And I was over here, trying to get him to feel better. And he kind of had this mentality all the way back then, a decade ago, hey, you don't need to do anything or be anything. I just need to sit with this. I just need to feel it.
Yeah.
And now we allowed that, we honor, and it's literally the new way because the energy is shifting. And you talked about it's when we start to see things differently, in the external world, we no longer allow our perception to stay in a limited state. And so right now, you see people feel so convicted, right? And this is evil. How can you support evil? This is good. Other people are no, this is good. That's evil. How can you support that? And you see all of this dichotomy, but really that conviction, or what's mistaken as conviction, is really their pain holding a limited perception.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're
go talk to some light workers out there. I'm going to probably get in trouble. Go talk to some light workers about this election.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Is it their conviction or is it their pain?
Attachment and their pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that one's powerful right there. That part.
Yeah, because even I think it was Shanine earlier wrote a comment talking about oneness carries a frequency, and it does. And so attachment also carries a frequency, and affliction in all its forms carries frequencies. And as this spirit expands, we literally feel those frequencies like daggers to the heart. So when someone's like, this is what you do, and you can feel like, if you don't do this, then you don't know love or you don't know light. You've lost perception for the expanded state of reality where perfection is overlaying frequency on top of frequency for one goal. And the more, like you said earlier, you stay silent, you just see it all unfold before you. And it doesn't even make you want to talk about it. You want to stay silent longer so you can continue to see reality expand.
Yeah. Yeah. Morgan taught me something. She teaches me everything, right? So I was looking at the Soulogy. When I got back, I started looking at all the metrics and all the different pages just to see what was happening energetically. And I got to a page on the Soulogy group, and it said, these are the top 10 posts from the last 30 days. And there was a lady, I had written one about 9/11 that had just kept going and going. Then there was one Morgan had done. And then there was one I had done. And the one I had done was this, I just shared somebody's meme. And it said something like, it's okay just to say okay, right? So as I was journeying with Morgan, a lot of times I would do like what Michael was talking about with Israel when he was younger. I might start, talking or projecting, and she'd just go, okay. So like you have this big, long spiel, right? This is what our old behavior was. You have this big, long spiel. Let me tell you, and then to get a response of, okay, well, that's not that's not like a vote of confidence. It's not like taking a shot at you. It's just you're saying, okay. So, she used it with me and I learned it and I use it with people. I just say, okay. And it's nothing disrespectful. It's just okay. Like, it's like, it is neutral. It is like a 0 point kind of field. Obviously if you have ill intentions behind it or smart ass intentions, that's different, but it is okay. It's a good, I don't know. It's just really, I think that's a good one. Delia.
Oh, yeah.
¿Qué pasa?
Sorry.
¿Qué pasa?
No, my audio just went a little crazy right now, but it's
okay.
good.
You're good. No, just
yeah, I agree with that overall, with the energy of everything that's being presented. It's just a whole other level that we're having a full awareness now that we're like, okay, I see it. And we can choose not to even react to it. Just, okay, that's where you're at. That's fine. And move on from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we don't have to take whatever's gone to mean something or have a choice. Because what they present, I'm just going to use the election as here's this, that's all you get to choose. It's not one or the other. But the illusion overall is in that little box hole where you're not allowed to move forward or expand. Just as an example. But when you take all that stuff away and you look towards what the world really has and creativity, it doesn't belong in none of that. You take away the aspects of other things and energy. It's a lot more than what we have been taught to in the past. And the same thing with in the past, how we used to work and project. Mm-hmm. It's no longer that part at all. We've moved past a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, oh, go ahead, sister.
No, I was gonna say it's a lot more. I think it's a lot more, and it's beautiful to see all of that. Because regardless of everything that's coming up, we know the trajectory of things and where we want to go, and it's just gonna lift us even higher. And it's not just boom, that's it. It's just we're gonna stop at points, and if we need to clear something, we're just going to keep going up for one way or another.
Yeah. And I think one of the metrics I use, and I was writing about this, is if you want to see where your kind of just where you're vibrating or what you're creating with or what you're releasing, is just ask yourself, like, am I creating my reality with my pain, or am I creating my reality from the essence of who I am, which is love, right? And that's what you see out in the world. Like when people are yelling or demonizing each other or questioning the perfection of how things are unfolding, or if there's a positive or negative charge about any sort of ideation or conceptuality, you're literally moving from a state of separation. And it's the people that are moving back into their spirit. They're creating love, right? The art is opening back inside of people's hearts. And relationship, I don't want to say it's like shifting, because I think that it's always been possible if you access that state of consciousness, right? Like relationship is in the old paradigm, it mirrors karma. And in this paradigm, we are seeing co-creation. So it's even like my relationship with both of you, my relationship with Marina or Melissa, or just now we're all literally coming together. We're accessing the love within ourselves, and then we're all coming together and we're creating a reality with love. Mm-hmm. And that's where, and that's one thing I would say about the when we talk about the spiritual community, something I've found like really fascinating, and this will enter people's awareness as vibration raises, is if you really want to see the people that are accessing the love of their spirit, you'll see in what they're creating. Are people recycling, regurgitating, and posting things that are unoriginal, or is there an innovative state where literally are becoming just conduits?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where you see like where people are just kind of like, especially with the political arena, you see a lot of like just recycling. Right. But what the spirit isn't going to recycle anything of the old, because it literally wants to anchor in a new frequency. And that frequency is love. And all of those aspects are playing a vital role. But I'm talking about love itself isn't going to masquerade as anything other than love, and you're going to feel the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Morgan, Dad's on the stairs. I can hear him.
Morgan's dead. Yeah, and even like it's funny too, because I was having a conversation with a couple of friends about it was when I was still in Sedona. A couple of people I met, I don't even know who it was, but so they started talking about the election, and I'm like sitting over there, and they're like, well, there's only two choices. I'm like, no, there's not. And they said, well, what do you mean? You can't, there's not another third candidate that's going to, whatever. I don't even know. Are they on the ballot or whatever? I don't know. And I said, well, no, there's another choice. You vote with your feet. I refuse to participate, and they're both, here they are opposing each other. And they look at me and they're like, what? Like blasphemy, right? But I guess that's what I'm trying to say is another thing that's coming out of this too is all these little caveats, these little, not caveats, but these little absolutes that we throw down on the universe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to be oneness except for this. They have to go. Mm-hmm. They absolutely have to go. And it's getting down to the nitty gritty. And I think it's starting to affect, and I think that's what we're really talking about. What is the core of this? It's starting to affect us in our, moment by moment interactions, first and foremost with other human beings.
Yeah.
Right. How do you sustain a frequency of oneness as we interact? And this is nothing about judgment. This is about finding our way and expanding the template and expanding the blueprint. How do I function in a frequency of oneness as I have these interactions with other humans? Because then from there, it will go out into other groups of humans and other aspects of the universe. How do I do that? Being direct, choosing what waters we want to swim in, not making excuses or providing any rationale as to when we say, look, I'm about to meet with some potential collaborators that have been approaching Soulogy. And my answer is real simple. Our answer, not mine, our answer is it doesn't resonate. Thank you very much. I don't need to explain anything to you. And it's nothing bad about it. I'm not upset. It's just, that's the only answer that I need to give. And this is for everybody. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how do you maintain or even expand your frequency of oneness? How do you move that ball forward up the field that would be more impactful than how you relate to somebody and some bodies on a one-to-one basis? I think that is more powerful potentially than the greatest piece of poetry can be written, the greatest speech that can be given. It's actually planting seeds at the most core level of how we operate this. And nobody has the answer fully, but if we keep moving forward, this is what's happening. And I believe it is what's happening.
And I think there's just the awareness of ourselves and what thought forms and emotional imprints live inside of ourselves. The moment we become aware of what limits us, right? So it's like even if I haven't been completely liberated, but I have an awareness of what still holds me back, right? Where I still become triggered, then I'm able to understand what I'm seeing outside of myself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I love it, because here I'm in the United States. Ooh. The density's intense. Like, especially, I don't even know because I don't keep up with it too much, but I know that the election's in like 20 or 30 days or something. I don't know. And so there's a lot of energy around it, but I think it's sometimes it's as simple as saying, understanding frequency and understanding that the vibrational frequency of oneness is taking over the entire planet. Mm-hmm. So when you say, Todd, which I think is brilliant, this isn't a viable option for me, and this isn't a viable option. If we if we don't name these people or attach ourselves to their ideology, if we just look at it as energy, as what does the collection of energy in this form represent, and how does it create, and what does the energy in this? And a lot of the old power structures are saturated in duality.
Yeah.
They're just, so really what you're saying is we need to see and feel something that is creating from the frequency of love. And that's why we kind of see just the universe stepping in. You see natural disasters, and you see all these things that are out of our control, because the universe wants to reconstruct reality from a new frequency. And so, I always say, if something doesn't resonate, and it's an illusion to think that we have to resign ourselves to only, basically submitting our power to something, when really, if we stay patient and faithful, we'll see the skies open. Like, we'll see something shift.
Yeah.
Because that's the universal law.
Yeah.
I think there's that vibration that we're creating, even in the now. Even if the oneness is starting off with a small group, it's growing bigger and bigger, and a lot of people are coming together, and people across the world meeting up and connecting, even throughout this entire thing, feeling that connection and growing with it all. This is the new code that's happening, regardless of what's going on outside. This is the bigger push that if there is an agenda, it's like, oh, no, you don't. Taking the power back in the sovereign of the human essence, and saying, we're going to come together. We're going to shift collectively, because we do want to see something better for the world. And if there's a split earth or whatever those theories are and the possibilities or simulations or anything else, if we want to talk quantum into that area, there's all those several possibilities. And this is one of the biggest things. And this is, I like when Todd says that, well, we are over, each person is a little earth. There's possibly walking around we're connecting constantly with another version of how Earth is.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who sometimes tries to argue and talk about certain theories because he believes in flat Earth, and I was like, okay, cool. So I always end the argument with, hey, you know what? You are your co-creator, and in your place and in your time, you believe that that's what it is, and possibly then that is what it is. In mine, I don't resonate with that, and I'm okay with that, and we can coexist together. And it's the same thing that happens here, even though there's difference. We can say, hey, I honor that. That's where you're coming from. That's where you're at. We can coexist together, but we can also have the unity consciousness of seeing something a lot bigger through the eyes of love. And through all that higher vibration, there's no other things that it starts to fall apart.
Yeah. And then you have radicals like Melissa Dehan. I came here for connection. I came here to remember, stand out of my way now.
And she says, what
She's
the
like,
crack?
What the crack, yeah. Well,
I love her.
we're all Mexicans. I was going to say, we don't say what's the crack, Melissa. We say, what's the hairy crack? No, I'm kidding. That's too early for Todd to get crazy. Yeah, so these comments that people are making, Candace, Vera, Melissa, everybody else, Dawn, in this conversation, I'm like, so, you know, a lot of the navigation is, what am I looking at? Who am I looking at? How are they behaving? Where are they in agenda? Are they in integrity? You know, and here's the deal, right? Like, it's so important to listen to ourselves, to what we're saying first, because if we're bullshitting ourselves or ignoring or denying something in ourselves, that's our frequency, right? That's like, we're going to have like tainted information, tainted code coming in. So what am I saying and why am I saying it? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, really, I mean, and again, I have to go back to Morgan all the time because that's where I get most of my, you know what I mean? Understanding.
Yes.
You know, so like whatever happens, it's that saying, it's never them, it's always me. But it's at a deeper level. It's at a level with this conversation you're having with the universe. Like, I'm doing this, why? Mm-hmm. I'm going this direction, why? Am I going down the old path of hope? And you know what I think of hope? It's just the space between doubt and faith. It doesn't even apply, you know? So is this the path of hope? Am I on the light preserver? Am I on this ultra conviction kick like you were talking about earlier? Why do I have this conviction? Is it because I'm overly self-righteous? I mean, all of these things, all this self-examination before you go out and start to interact and then base your interactions or base the information you get from the interactions, let that, considering that to be the basis of your foundation, your gospel. Yep. Well, if you're carrying distorted information within your own admissions of yourself, then you're going to get distorted information from these interactions. And again, back to square one, it's just a good time to shut the F up. Observe yourself, observe everyone else. No one's going to get it perfect. But if you keep your mouth shut, you'll learn a lot more. You won't stick your foot in your mouth. And if you're absolutely 100% right and God, the goddess, came down right in front of you and said, you're right. If you're right, why do you need to go tell anybody that? Or is the energy of your field going to do all the talking for you? And again, if you're wrong, and we've been there, or overly have an overabundance of conviction or self-righteousness, Well, we've been there. We're not trying to convince anybody. We've been trying to convince ourselves, right?
Yeah.
To me, one of the biggest lessons for me in the last year and a half, especially with the Soulogy thing, we're going to launch. I mean, you stick your foot in your mouth. I've stuck my foot in my mouth so many times. We're going to do it next week. We're going to do it next month. And allowing the universe to provide something as good or better than you could even imagine in the way that it sees fit. Get the fuck out of the way, right? Allow her to do this. She brought us into this game. Why would we change horses now, right? It's like saying, hey, I want to get a different mother. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, it can't even happen, right? But, yeah. It's just,
I like that you said we were always really trying to convince ourselves, because as love really deepens, right, as the spirit expands, it's not about convincing. It turns into just a love and a reverence and a compassion. So you want to just love, and then you want to let love do what it does.
Yeah. Then we can all become like Morgan in that room on that video. And we're all just sitting there and everything we see. And it's true, though. Do they have elections we're talking energy or a dimension or a timeline or a new earth, but do they have elections in heaven? Do they have political parties? Do they have a mayor, a leader? You see what I mean? So that's kind of how I look at things. Is I'll be like, okay, is that going to exist? Does that exist in this 5D, in this new earth? Does pain, does suffering, does drudgery, does argument, does suspicion, does paranoia, does healing, and if they don't exist there, then I'm going to do what I can within whatever wherewithal I may have, whatever percentile I'm operating in. I'm going to do what I can to convert those to transform those in my field. Pain now becomes passion. Suffering now becomes compassion. So rather than say, okay, I'm only human. Well, I'm only human, so I can still do this bullshit. That game's over. Well, the world's not going to change. That's over too. Mm-hmm. So it's like these things are so intricate. We can do it, but the other thing is they start with ourselves. Are you BSing yourself? Are you telling a story that you've been telling for years and years, never thought about why? Like you're riding a bicycle, you don't even think about it. Are you substantiating your existence or rationalizing your behavior because you don't want to deal with your own bullshit? You don't want to, collaborate and cooperate with the universe because you're sticking to your guns. Yeah. I'm not interested in dragging through the mud anymore. I'm digging the creation and the collaboration. It's very cool.
Yeah, we're here in the now, and that's where the power is overall. And the constant conversations that we're now having with ourselves and the higher selves. And if you commune with your spirit, with your whole entire quorum, and you're saying, hey, this is where I'm at, let's have a talk. And you also learn to really listen to yourself, higher aspects as well. Even though you're having a conversation, you do want to honor the human. The human has a lot to do with it. That's where the power is. And they can only give you the advice and the guidance this is where we're at. Because they also see all the aspects of things playing out. And it's up to the human to say, okay, well, I see that. Okay, I want to go. Let's go. It's having that choice. Mm-hmm. It's having that choice. And this is where we're at, the co-creation to really move forward to something that's a lot more than we had envisioned. And it's going to take into a higher parts. And I think overall, with this energy that's coming in right now, we're in October. It's going to be in the blink of an eye, and then November is going to be here. And I feel that there's definitely energy playing out from November to December, because yeah, sure, the elections are a huge part, but I think overall energetically, there's something just there in that energy, because a lot of people in the entire world look at the elections as well and how things are going to look at and where it's being driven. And it is up to the people to overall the energy to take their sovereign selves and say, well, I don't agree with that. I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to continue and have connection to spirit and move past all that crap, all that blinders that they put on in society.
Gee, that was a hell of a roll. Michael, you got anything else? We're going to come back to you as well, Delia, but we've got a few minutes. Our hour and a half's about up.
Yeah. No, I just think that, I think that one of the things that the poetry tries to offer, and just when I'm in conversation with family or friends right now, is just that there's a deep longing inside of all of us, and that longing is to be liberated and for love to take complete form again. And so I just constantly, even when just like different types of conversations come up, or I just always say like if our intention at the core is to be liberated, then let us constantly ask ourselves, are we moving from love or from fear? And I think that that's the question I ask myself daily. And that's why there's times, like you said, Delia, I went into hibernation the last 3 weeks because I could feel how much I was clearing. And I said, the best thing I can do right now is clear. And especially when I'm clearing, I don't like to post, or even though I have poems recorded, I don't like to go film them, because I just feel like as I clear, I'll be able to offer more heart, And so I stay there and, just kind of honor that experience. So yeah, this has been a great conversation, and I love both of you, and I love Brother Todd's impersonation of the poetry.
Here, I got another one. Listen.
Give me a line.
Dad.
Star spiral.
Dad, are you on the stairs?
He is on the stairs.
Dad.
Did you hear him? He said good morning to you.
Let me do one. All right, so hang on. Let's see.
Stars.
I woke this morning. There was an owl on my breast. My chest heaved. The tears fell, and my toes curled in ecstasy.
You sound great. Morgan said to talk to her like that.
I'm going to call your parents on the phone and be like, Mom, it's Michael.
Now they understand why I had a raspy Friday voice when I was born.
You were born to do what you do. You got any light language, Delia?
Oh, not today. Not today.
It's okay. All right. So we got 2 shows today. Nikki Hammond and Damien something. And
yes, he's from Light Language with Susana Mara.
Okay, Damien Nola.
Yeah, he does amazing dragon light language. I love his stuff.
Yeah.
That should be fun. I look forward to it all.
Yeah, and of course we have a big month next month. Everybody knows we got the honor of having David Icke come in on the 18th. So we're looking at supporting that energetic union by building a really powerful energy with the frequency of the broadcast leading up to it and then after it. I have a feeling that from this point through the end of the year is the biggest part of the year, right? And we want to do what we can at Soulogy to create as much code as possible, and so we're going to be taking our time. October's booked, but we're going to be really taking our time to see what we want to do with the broadcast in November and December, and of course, highlight the opportunity we have. So anyone that has any questions, I'm not going to say that we can get to all the questions with David Icke, but I did put up a post, and I'm going to mention it, and I'll mention it now. Send it to Soulogy1studios@gmail.com. It's all lowercase, all run together, Soulogy1studios@gmail.com. I'm going to try to set aside, I'm going to try to see if he will do an interview for an hour and a half to 2 hours, at least, and dedicate maybe 15 to 20 minutes, or maybe even 30 minutes, depending on how far we run, with questions from our community. So Soulogy1studios@gmail.com, all run together, and thank you everybody for helping make that happen, because everybody did. This is a perfect example of what we're talking about. No words, just the energy that's created by all of us coming together, live, replay, and so on. That's actually allowed this to happen. So very cool. We're excited. So we'll see y'all next Monday. Michael's got his first show when? A week from Friday?
A week from Friday. My guest is going to be Todd Medina. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
We'll have to do some poetry. We can do a duet. We'll do a duet. That's part of it. Yeah. All right.
I want to hear that Moses poem. I was Moses.
In the Michael voice. I am Jesus. I am Magdalene. We're on to something here. Okay. Love you guys. We'll be back in an hour and a half.
See you later. Bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.